right now I feel like he's shot calling at a very, very good level, and it's causing his play and his team's play to look very good.
Because he's still stellar individually here. I do want to give some time to Jensen, though. I feel like we've had a big 2-minute long Bjergsen love fest, which is fine. He's an outstanding player. There's nothing wrong with that. So then talk to me about sort of Jensen's strengths as we get ourselves to the beginning of Champ Select.
I think he's really good in lane, and I think he's dominant in team fights. What I don't know if he can do is impact the map as heavily as Bjerg can.
Right, I think, like I was saying, those ganks that were being thrown at him, he played all those super well. He did like everything he could to get out, and he got out of a number of those. And it's the kind of thing where if you put Jensen in a situation, he'll almost always play it mechanically correct. Doesn't necessarily mean he's at the start in the right position, or he'll put himself in an area where he can get advantages. But once he's in a situation, he plays it mechanically very well.
All right, so we'll see as those guys get themselves into the game. Bjergsen may be a bit smarter of a player, but Jensen obviously an incredible player mechanically. And as the bans come through, we're seeing only two mid lane bans so far, Azir and Cassiopeia. We are on 6-13 now. Scar, I'll direct it to you as the resident excellent mid laner. Do you think the tier list still holds up from before? Is it, you know, the Azir Rise Love Fest from before?
I think it is still the Azir Rise Love Fest, but Vlad is not very good right now. Like, I think Vlad got nerfed enough to where he isn't priority first pick, or he doesn't have to be. Okay. I also feel like it's really funny that Bjerg has been playing a lot of Talia. Everyone's expecting it from him tonight. He is literally, his solo queue match history is almost 15 out of 20 games one champion. And so everyone's been talking about it, and it'd be great to see him pull it out.
Might not happen with Rise first pick.
Yeah, you saw the hover already, and that's been locked in. So he gets a Rise, which, hey, doesn't suck. And I mean, Haunter's top two champions, actually, Irelia and Swain got nerfs. Maybe he brings a top lane instead.
Yeah, Rise top is a really nice flex pick. You saw Immortals pull it out, I think, first in North America, and a lot of other teams have, or one or two other teams have
I think
tried to
Energy
catch on.
did it as well, was the other one.
Oh, yeah. And I think Rise top gives you like an extra variable in your draft.
Okay, so maybe the hope for the Talia is still out there. I always like seeing new stuff in. So tier list wise, we're saying, you know, Vladimir no longer the S tier, Cassio and Azir off the table anyway, Rise obviously going somewhere. The hope for Talia is in there as well. So if you're coming into this draft as a mid laner, is there anything you're really looking forward to? We're seeing actually an early Vlad hover anyway.
I've heard some teams are still actually prioritizing Vlad, that they still think it's good. I think a lot of it comes down to not just the numbers on him, but his actual kit and what he's able to do in terms of getting on the back line pretty much 100% of the time and dropping a fat load of damage on them. So I think that part of his kit's still there, even if, you know, the Q isn't quite as nice or the bonus HP is a little lower. I think that's not the core part of his kit, in the sense the core part is untouched. He's still prioritized. So I understand it's not quite as strong. Some teams have probably dropped it, but I think you'll still see a lot of Vladimir this weekend.
Oh, I think this is a good game to tell. If it's a Rise versus Vlad matchup, who actually is stronger mid game? Because, you know, Vlad can build a lot of MR, but Rise just does disgusting amounts of damage. Rise does enough damage to go through all resists, usually by himself.
Right, so that's going to be interesting. Is there any concern? Obviously not, because they've picked them already, but is there really any concern with like blind picking these champions? Has no one found counters? Do the counters not exist?
I think Vlad has less counters because he's so hard to gank. You know, he's such a... his item path is so good for him. He can go damage, he can go defensive stats. And Rise, however, like it's easy to pick off Rise with a bunch of different champions. When you play with immobile champions like a Nivea or Rise, the other team sometimes prioritizes Bard very highly, and they're able to find mid-game, late-game picks and set up like a great team fight with the ulti.
Right, I think that's one of the things to think about is exactly those long-range engage tools like the Ashe, the Bard, anything that can kind of just shoot something at him, and he has to blow his flash once, and then he's vulnerable for the next 5 minutes. And that's something that you don't really see with an Azir or a Vladimir, because they have the pool or the shuffle or whatever to get out. So I think that's something that makes Rise a little bit more vulnerable, but I still think he has pretty good defensive tools just with the speed up and the shield. So as long as it's not like he's caught 1v5 and insta-gibbed or like chain CC'd, if his team is there to support him, even that engage cannot work out.
Yeah, I think as long as it's not pre-6, then he's not as susceptible as other mobile champions. But if it is pre-6, like at least flash gank or something, then he can go down really quickly.
Yeah, nothing. And as you can see, TSM willing to first pick it anyway, right? So no really concerns that Ashe or Bard are coming through to mess with them regardless. So you've got a Rise, you've got a Vladimir. What would you pick around these just to sort of tunnel in on the champ select point? How do you properly supplement both these champs?
I really like what C9's doing in terms of getting some speed somewhere in your comp. When you have a Vladimir, his whole job basically is to fly at the other team's backline and just giving him a speed up through a Sivir. They're hovering a Karma as well. I think that would have been fine. The Soraka a little bit more annoying to deal with and definitely gives the team a ton of sustain.
Yeah, I think Soraka is actually one of the old picks into Rise that's really, really good. The Silence Field cuts his combo in half, and that really hurts his damage output. On top of that, you have two people who are going to be building Spirit Visage on the other team. So Soraka plus Vladimir is a really powerful combo because you just can't kill him. He's just so He has so much sustain.
Vlad and Gragas already want that item, multiply the healing coming in, life feels good. I like that point, actually. This is what I like about tunneling on the points. You get some more of the individual interactions.
Oh, and 6.13 came with a new healing item, so Soraka's even more powerful on this.
Oh, yeah, the coin buffs and then the Ardent Sensor buffs, too. So,
yes.
So,
and Mikhail's, and they all stack.
Yeah, it's insane, actually. So if Soraka gets items, I think she can easily take over this game with Vlad.
All right, well, that's going to be nice for Jensen then. He can show that he can outplay, get a big healing battery in from Smoothie, who's playing this game, and we'll see what happens. TSM round out their lineup, Caitlyn and Nidalee in on here. So do you like the supporting staff for Bjergsen's Rise? We talked about TSM able to play around him. Is this going to be the case in this game?
Yeah, I think they have a really good, they have self-sufficient bot lane duo, and their only really place they have to put pressure is topside. And Aurelia does well against almost every matchup now, except for maybe Trundle. And if they do pick Trundle, then at least Nidalee can hover around mid and top to provide support for both. And Braum is so good at being able to enable a 1v2. If they want to just like ignore the early phase, Braum could do that as well. So to get Rise to 6, and they can give him a lot of support doing the 1v2, and he can get a lot of levels very easily.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that C9 banned the Lucian, because I think it would have made a lot of sense in TSM's comp. They're relatively short range with you know, the Aurelia and Rise trying to go in and CC someone in the front and then just burning that person down. And Caitlyn isn't quite as good for that. She's a little bit more self-sufficient if C9's coming on to them. But I think TSM's actually the team that's going to need to engage a lot of these fights. I feel like they get a little outranged and outpoked. So, I mean, they do have the Nidalee to heal, but I think Soraka and Nidalee versus those two, I would take the Soraka.
I feel like Soraka heals more. Yeah, I think it's an accurate assessment. Generally speaking.
I think they took Braum, like, again, for 1v2 lanes well, and then late game, he can put up that wall and really frontline for Rise. So it's really hard to pick off Rise and, just off a random pick, but C9 actually can, I feel like, almost brute force down the middle with Sivir Vlad. I just don't know how much exact damage and how much tanky Braum is going to be at that point.
Yeah, it's true, and they've got Gnar to make sure that engage kind of comes through a little bit. You've got two can be engaged champions. Gragas, of course, the ulti can be blocked by Braum, and Gnar requires the Rage Bar. Yeah, Gnar requires that. So, yeah, we'll see if C9 can brute force that and just sort of send a fast Vladimir into the backlines, killing everybody. I
like what I think it was Scar, you said about getting a 2v1 with the Braum, because what we saw last time was that TSM destroyed C9 in the 2 games that they had the 2v1 going, and the one game that they lost against C9 was in standard lanes where Smoothie was kind of able to go off. So I think being able to get the 2v1 will be huge because it'll just get them an advantage with their comp regardless.
Yeah, I think with Braum, I think Braum automatically, every team thinks when you get Braum, you automatically win 1v2 priority because you can just walk in level 1 and get wards wherever you want. And so having Braum just essentially means you automatically win the level 1. Almost always.
So you get mirrored lanes, you get match lanes, whatever you want. You basically did
exactly, because you get ward priority and you can just face check the other team. Braum passive is just way too good at level 1.
All right, well that's going to be interesting. Then we'll see how TSM and C9 play around the level 1s with this as the result. Once again, for you guys watching, if you want more of the overall game picture, head over to the other stream. This one is very mid lane focused here. We're going to be tunneling really hard onto what Bjergsen and Jensen are doing in this game. And right now with C9 fanning out, Jensen just kind of playing for vision. Bjergsen is actually part of the invade crew and holding onto a skill in case he needs Rune Prison for an invade, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that bad to take it at level 1 if you do manage to get a kill, but with the changes in 6.13, I actually don't know how aggressive teams will be looking for the first bloods because they negated a lot of like the XP advantage that you used to get.
The XP and gold got nerfed with 6.13. I actually forgot about that. That's
for
a really
which
good
parts?
Point. For
like early first bloods, they changed it so it's not nearly as
low level kill XP. That's right. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I was saying. Is I'm not sure if a Rise or whatever champion would start skilling differently early anymore. Because used to you would not skill up for that reason, but I can't imagine it's really that worth it anymore. Maybe you still do it.
I think in general, like if you got a shared first blood, you didn't get much XP anyway, right? It was like 30 XP or something, so it didn't feel like it was that big of a difference. But here we go. Bjergsen vs Jensen in the mid lane. Two of the highest priority mid laners right now in League of Legends. Tell me about the one-on-one matchup.
I think right now, Rise just wants to last till his first buy. If Jensen can find a way to poke him out, all that Rise needs to do is dodge the 3rd Q and he'll be fine. But if he gets hit with those repeatedly and harassed down, then he's gonna have to do a really awkward back and use his TP for lane. He's probably gonna use his TP for lane anyways, off maybe a tier buy, but for the most part, it's all around whether or not he can space out the Q.
And look how far back Bjergsen was playing. He's like hiding from Jensen at the very start of this laning phase.
Yeah, he doesn't really care if he gives up the push early. He's fine letting the waves come into him and farming safely. You see the standard lane, so you're not going to have to worry about like strong side, weak side. You have to think about the whole map here and where the Gragas can come from. So you're going to have to see where they end up trinketing on their second time that they come up. Actually, Bjergsen saved this, huh?
Looks like, yeah, Bjergsen's still holding on to his trinket ward Jensen used his early in the game. Okay, so standard lanes that someone would see in the ranked play, and you've got to now try to track where the jungler started.
Even looking at these lanes, like mid-Rise isn't too threatening for pool Vlad, but when you think about the Gragas gank on Rise early, that could be devastating. Like, he could just die off the one game.
One thing I'll say, though, is like Rise, when you're saying get that first back off, he can actually combo Vlad pretty hard if like you time it right with not being able to get a powered Q off. So I could see like if he can get a snare and Jensen doesn't see the spear coming, the Vlad can be in a little bit of threat, but as long as he pools something, he's generally going to be fine.
But right now, this is a really bad position for Bjerg. That's why he just went to go ward left side, because he has to shove in to pressure the lane, but he knows the jungle can have priority onto his lane.
I mean, this is one of the things we were saying that makes Bjergsen so good, right? Like, the ward just saw the Gragas. He knows where he is. And
yeah.
It makes him able to play safe or play aggressive. He can do whatever he wants once he has that knowledge.
And I want to call it what happened there. Sven actually got in on the red buff up there and saw that that part of the jungle wasn't taken yet. And as soon as Sven was up there, Bjerg walked up, dropped the trinket, said Gragas is coming top jungle pretty soon, because that jungle's still up.
I find that neither of these like champions are going to have much kill pressure till first item. And usually between both these players, you're not going to get solo kills. They're just going to be able to push each other out of lane.
Yeah, we'll see, trying to spam back and forth. Jensen running a little bit lower on health. He's actually chugged through his one only health potion now on this Vladimir. We've talked about how the match is supposed to play. Not a ton of kill pressure right now, so they're playing for farm. But this lane now well past the mid side, right? Bjergsen, without any wards anymore, feels like you'd have to be pretty afraid of this Gragas.
Yeah, I think that's why you see him playing back and not really walking up for the CS. Meteos going for the Skull Crab instead.
But he's nearby, and, well, Bjergsen has his trinket ward up. You think he's under any real threat right now? Like, if Gragas goes for body slam flash, is he...
The biggest thing is that Gragas doesn't have red buff, so like the follow-up to body slam isn't going to be as threatening as with it, because if he does have red buff, he can get flash body slam to flash away and still get tagged with like Vlad pull into dying off red buff. But he doesn't really have that kind of threat, so I wouldn't be playing too scared. If Meteos does try to gank mid and he does it and it fails, Sven takes a 1.5 level lead.
Well, the thing too there was, right when he didn't have that trinket ward down, Sven was actually nearby in the race, so you think there'd be pretty good communication where if the Gragas comes in to force a gank, TSM is going to try and turn that. So as soon as Sven moves a little bit further down as he continues clearing, that's when Bjerg places his ward, because he no longer has jungle support. And you saw that I was able to see Meteos again, so this is twice that anytime Meteos is even near mid lane, Bjergsen's able to get vision on him.
And look what Sven did right before he backed this, gave right side mid a free ward. So that way Bjerg is covered completely off any kind of ganks, even a dive potentially. And so they're just enabling Rise to hit his power off 2 items.
All right, well, Bjergsen so far pretty safe. I want to talk about summoner choices, by the way. Rise, of course, a pretty normal teleport taker. Vladimir, we're seeing actually Ghost more than TP from him. More often than not from him. Talk to me about the summoner spell choices.
Ghost allows you to make such great plays. And it allows you to team fight. It allows you to run to lanes, to roam. I think Ghost is just a great summoner spell right now, especially for champions who can do consistent damage. And Ghost lets him dive as well into a really long-range threat like Caitlyn. I think that Ghost was a great call. In fact, Ghost was actually the summoner spell that people take to counter a Nivea on Vlad, or to deal with a Nivea better, because without Ghost, you actually can't even play the matchup.
So then contrast it for Rise, because Bjergsen, right, Rise is clearly a good repeated damage champion, some of the same profiles of Vlad, so why is he going teleport over the Ghost?
I think Rise has a lot more 1v1 potential, so if you get him ahead, you can actually use him as a split pusher, and you can kind of do that with Vlad, but he's really a lot more effective when he's diving backlines, whereas Rise wants to melt front lines.
Oh, that's a really good angle by Meteos.
When he tried to preempt the flash, yeah, not even a chance.
Oh, wow, Meteos cut his flash so quick right there that Bjerg couldn't even flash it. That was super smart. Usually, you'll wait till the very end and flash, but Meteos flash almost off the E animation, which makes it almost impossible to flash.
It would just have to be a complete prediction if you're going to have to read that.
Yeah,
probably not worth it, right?
No, and this is great. Like, I didn't realize Snap was going to try to put so much pressure on mid lane, but I think that it's really smart because, again, Bjerg is going to be the enabler for his team. If you can send him behind, looking at how this team fights in the late game, like, he's not going to be able to do anything. And then Sivir and Black can just take over.
I think it's a really well-timed gank, too, because Bjerg was running out of mana, and I think he was trying to combo that wave there to shove it in so he could get a good recall off. And Meteos shows up right as that's happening, and Bjergsen runs out of mana, and, Jensen's able to drop the ult and get a good combo on him.
Is that gank Bjergsen's fault? Like, should he have gotten Sven to ward from earlier or recalled sooner? On the threat of a level 6 flat?
He definitely could have, but the thing is, I think he's still under the impression that, look, if he gets ganked right now, maybe it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, then Nid takes a huge level lead, and Nid could just take over the game. So even though the gank worked out, Nid is probably a full level on top of Meteos right now.
Yeah, about half level actually. 6 and change versus almost 6 for the Gragas. So you're right about that.
Yeah, and look, he took control of completely of right side of Meteos' jungle, so he's not going to be able to farm his way back. I think this is enabling Sven to carry the game. It just sucks that Bjerg actually died in the gank.
I think the other thing too, and just talk about top lane matchup a little bit, I think that's one that most people actually don't really like because they last picked the Gnar into the Aurelia, and I know that a lot of people feel that when Gnar's in mini form, he's in like serious dirt of getting
Aurelia smashes that a lot of the time.
So I'm kind of surprised at the last pick Gnar, and we saw that Nid went top there early to Snowball. So Bjergsen's mindset might change now where he's just in total farm mode and just playing safe and letting his top lane jungle kind of carry him until the mid-late game.
Right, so based on what his teammates have, he's got to play differently knowing that Sven Skaren's going to be setting up a tent near Hanser.
Right, because in this comp, if they kind of counterpick themselves last, you just say, fine, you know,
let's go win that lane.
Yeah, it's TSM, very team-focused team, and they're totally fine letting any of the 3 carries carry. And this is a position where Bjergsen is on this hyperscaling rise. It's going to be easy to want to focus it, but TSM knows they have a better opportunity to be top.
Okay, let's contrast for C9 then. Talk about Bjergsen's rise a fair bit. Jensen, you know, got himself a nice first blood assist, and he's still on, you know, a high-profile champion like a Vladimir. They faked it for him early. Is C9 just have to play through mid now and try to get him farther ahead on this Vlad?
I don't think it's possible. It's gonna be. It's gonna be possible. He still has flash. If he had blown flash immediately, I would say Meteos would come back on his flash cooldown or before.
You guys have talked about this before. You've already got the tower diff coming in. Bjergsen, yeah, these are all his.
Yep, this is that roam we were talking about where Bjergsen and Sven just always end up right next to each other. Oh, they're able to get a gank off top at the same time, so it's technically 2 for 2.
Yeah, 2 for 1 on the bot side, but you're right. Jensen, or sorry, Meteos getting his way up there helps out. So at least the top lane got turned around a little bit.
But just to touch on how that play kind of happened, Scar was talking earlier about how they took control of the bot side jungle, and as soon as Bjergsen got priority once, he shoves in the wave and then runs bottom where Nidalee has already kind of set up shop, and they're able to force a wave bottom at the same time and dive. It didn't seem like the cleanest dive. I don't think that anyone should. Ooh. That's a little greedy.
That was
picked up another kill though.
Yeah. That's great for Jensen. Like Jensen needs like as much of a lead as he can, because if Vlad has an item lead, going to team fights, he actually just destroys the backline by himself.
Oh wow, more good things as well. Impacts than a kill off double it.
This game's getting.
Oh!
No, that's.
Oh no,
really bad.
Well, he can mega, and then he's dead. Okay.
This is a scrappy game.
It is a scrappy game. 4 and 4 already.
I actually love how close it is. You know, I like how TSM makes a play bot side and C9 is making a play top side in response. They're not just giving up just like the free double kill, you know. That's how you can tell it's a top level team versus another top level team, because nothing goes for free.
Yeah, and it's always the funny thing, because like a worse team will like pile in and keep giving away kills, but these guys are actually taking the right counter moves. So yeah, we can get one back if we dedicate the right resources. So here's an example of what Bjergsen's doing really well with his priority. He doesn't just sit in lane and back off and farm his wolves or his raptors, which are both up. He actually runs into the top side of the river and starts scanning for pink wards. He runs into a couple brushes, trying to figure out if there's anything that he can do as opposed to just farming. And I think that's one of the things that really is the hallmark of a good player, is not playing this greedy farm style where they just go and steal camps from their jungler. Bjergsen is actively running around bot jungle, top jungle, trying to find any wards, doing anything he can, looking for picks, bumping into people. He's not content just farming.
Yeah, and it's so dangerous being on C9 side. Look how many wards they have out on the map. They have 1 pink at their blue, and aside from that, that's it. They have one green on the opposing tri-bush bot side, but they have almost no vision on the map, so they have to play very far back. Like Jensen, even though it's like not likely he's gonna be scared of getting ganked, he has to at least respect a Nidalee coming in with Bjergsen having ulti.
Right, see, this is what I mean, you know, Bjergsen shoves him mid again, roams to wherever Sven is, they control this bot side jungle. Meteos just getting his camp stolen basically in front of him, and Jensen can't really do much to punish because he's always just a step behind.
And that's Bjergsen saying, hey, I'm here with Sven, you guys back off your own jungle, the wolves are ours. So yeah, you're seeing, you know, a lot of payoff for Bjergsen having lane pressure. And again, this champion who's been ganked more than once now, and Jensen's got a better KDA, hasn't died. Why is Bjergsen crushing the lane so hard? Is it individual play? Is it champion matchup? What is this that's making him take over the mid lane so hard?
I think the jungle and the support that are able to get bot side vision and control, everything snowballed off that. Like the dive bot was because they got vision and they got dragon. Meteos traded bot side for the opposing jungle's wolves, and because he was on the opposite side, they were able to make the bottom play because he knew he couldn't go bot side off like a play like 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, the other thing too is Ryze, if he doesn't really care about his cooldowns, he can just kind of blow it on the wave, and that's something that kind of happens with Bjergsen a lot. Is when he goes roaming, he doesn't really, like, that's something that's nice about Ryze in general, is you can kind of just blow your combo, it'll be up again soon, And Vlad can't really clear as quickly because he has to charge probably about 2Es to clear a whole wave. And if the Rise is just full comboing a wave, it doesn't work out in his favor, obviously.
So Bjergsen constantly faster. They finally pulled the bot lane in and knocked the outer turret down. Look at this, another roam. And Sivir, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, that's probably going to be a dead Sivir. Rise. Oh, let's flash out with the ult. Ooh, it goes in. All right, it is a dead Sivir.
Yeah, it is. And he even survives the last tower shot as well. So
Bjergsen's playing the map so well right now. Even though like Biofrost and Sven are giving him really good vision, like he's the one who actively has to just walk in and be able to do it. And a lot of mid laners have trouble doing this. You know, this is why he always has good impact on the game, whether ahead or behind.
Oh, Jensen's
gonna get stunned.
Yeah, he's probably dead here.
Even the javelin hits him. Yep, goodbye.
I mean, you can see how tanky that Vladimir can get, because it did take a lot of focus fire to bring him down, but when he face checks a brush with 4 people around, even Vlad can't get out of that one.
All right, well, Jensen's now in a really bad spot, and honestly, it's a 3,500 gold lead for TSM as well. This is actually a substantial lead for the #1 team in NA. Yeah, TSM just like stops the recalls.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to criticize Jensen for that one. It is a pretty greedy play considering that, you know, C9's on the top side pushing a wave. You would think that they're, like, TSM would probably already be back, getting ready to catch the wave going into the tier 2, which you can kind of see them doing now. But, you know, he could have just waited an extra second or two and been totally safe.
So sometimes the way I see it is that when you're behind as a mid laner, you have to make a little bit of a risky play because every play has some value of risk when you're behind. Like you can no longer safely farm like certain aspects of the map. Like you lose control. If you want to even make some kind of proactive movement, you have to put yourself in some sort of risk. Right there was probably his bad, but there are a lot of situations where it's like it's okay to be on like a little bit overextended.
But you have to.
Exactly, because if everything stays even, they're behind 4K gold. That's a huge amount against a Rise Caitlyn. Like they might just lose off that kind of lead.
Well, you might see TSM do that right now, and at this point, you're cresting farther into the mid game. We're seeing that Jensen's gotten picked on a couple times, but he's still skilling up with a heavy magic resist Vladimir. Bjergsen's got his Rod of Ages done in the tier. And the funny thing is, it feels like we're looking at this Rise, and it's like even though he's building tier and Roa, at no point does he ever feel weak in this game.
Well, that's just because of his itemization path. It's so good. The fact that you can build tier Roa, which are defensive items and like items that aren't very good at lane, and increases Rise's damage. It just makes him a disgust. That's why he's getting rewarded.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why Rise is so priority for so many teams and considered one of the best mid laners. It's not the best. Ooh, good gank by Meteos here.
Really nice lineup, and I don't think Bjergsen's just gone. Pretty sure. They healed. Oh my gosh, he's getting so much healing. Okay, they got him finally. Now just watch Bjergsen. What's he up? Or Jensen.
He's gonna get another empowered Q off here.
Oh, that was a really good pull there.
Soraka's coming in as well.
So they can tank this out. Looks like. Not too bad, 1 for 0.
I'm at least happy that C9 is able to get looks, especially mid lane on a player who's like so hard to gank that Meteos himself told me was hard to gank. He found like 2 really clean ganks off on Bjerg. And this is probably the most times Bjerg has died to ganks in a long time.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how Meteos got there because it seemed like a ward just expired above it, so it would have been a pretty interesting path to get there.
Sitting in a pink warded brush.
Yeah, he's able to go over the wall onto Bjergsen here and gets his barrel ulti off to knock him right back into Jensen.
And he's flashless, so
yeah, but it's
not much he could have done.
This is kind of what we're talking about with like Rise's defensive options with the shield. He still lives for quite a while here, and this team's able to collapse. It looks a little scary where it might even turn back a little bit as everyone on the map kind of starts collapsing.
And they almost got Meteos back for it, right? So definitely really close call.
Yeah, I think going to mid-late game, like when they start grouping up, Gragas isn't going to be able to get that kind of clean initiation because Braum Shield can just block the ulti. And so that's why they're able to get these picks now, like I worry for them if Rise gets too far ahead, like mid-late game, they don't really have an option to initiate outside of Gnar.
I know that a lot of people feel like Braum is probably one of the worst things to play Gragas against. It's just such a, it's a burden.
Yeah, I think the worst bot lane ever is Braum Sivir because then you actually have no chance of ever making a play on that bot lane. And even going to mid-late game, it's really bad.
Well, luckily for C9, there haven't been 2 snowballing dragons, a cloud and an ocean so far. So it's good for TSM being able to run around the map faster, and especially because they do have this kind of pick-off comp where a Rise wants to shove it in and run somewhere, and Aurelia can do the same thing. Obviously, Braum can do the same thing, so it fits all their lanes pretty well.
I find that C9's in a really weird spot because they picked Gnar to split push, and he's not able to really do that, and so they're not really able to create pressure in the side lanes without Meteos. And because of that, like TSM will always have at least 2 sides or 2 lanes that are winning, and they can just kind of walk wherever they want. Whereas C9 has to really make hard decisions to find plays.
Was Trundle banned?
I can check. I don't think he was. The bans were Shen, Cassio, Jin, and Lucian, Azir, Rek'Sai. So no, Trundle was up the whole time.
Yeah, I can't help but think that the Gnar pick is a mistake because it loses the Aurelia matchup, and I don't think C9 is going to outperform TSM in a 2v1. So even if they're looking for that, it just seems like that kind of bullied the early game and kind of opened the map up. That's where TSM managed to get their first blood. And
it creates a lot of pressure on Jensen. Sure, he's getting kills, but then it's up to him to be able to carry every team fight from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir's mostly just going to be speeding up and hitting frontline, trying to like give the ricochet crits to help Vlad, who's going to be in the middle of the team. And one thing I want to touch on actually when we're talking about summoners is I like Ghost Flash because it doesn't force you to take Proto Belt as an item.
Oh, right.
I actually don't really like Proto Belt on Vlad. I feel like giving him a Zhonya's gives him so much more utility in a team fight. And if he has Ghost Flash, he's going to get on the backlines anyways. And Proto Belt, I know a lot of people really like it on Vlad. I personally don't, because just the healing being able to go through Zhonya's state where you can drop his ult and Zhonya's and use the pool to get
your
in
Q back up, things like that.
Right, yeah, it just gives him so much time. Oh, we see Bjergsen on another roam here.
He found a really good angle. Impact overextended there. He went past the river, and Bjerg was just able to walk on up.
And lo and behold, Sven's there also, right? Like, it feels like every Bjergsen roam is well calculated. It always turns into something. It's like a chance at a word go with an actual champion kill.
Well, I think the thing to point out is not that it actually always results in something, because we saw a number of times where he would half roam into a river and then turn around. Yeah, looking for vision. He's doing like these kind of multitasking roams where he's looking for vision. If he sees a play developing topside, he can continue the roam up there. If he doesn't, he turns around back for the next wave, shoves that one in. And it's a series of these small roams that once he finally sees someone out of position, he commits to it. And so he's kind of just putting himself in this position constantly where he has these opportunities to cut people off.
And make no mistake, the side lanes feel that kind of pressure. Like, if you're playing competitively,
and
you're like, oh, mid lane's missing, like, they have to always think in their mind, well, I can't overextend, I can't play far up. Like, it's kind of a unique, invisible pressure that makes these types of mid laners very, very difficult to play against.
I think that's definitely something that, as a spectator, you don't feel. Whereas when you get in game, and like I've listened to my team's comms before, you know, when they're pressured,
right?
That's why that term is pressure. You just feel like you can't do anything. Their mid laners off the map. You don't know where he went. You know he's fed. You know he can mess you up, and you just want to farm, and the wave's not near you. So what do you do?
You get zero farm, or do you?
Yeah, do you risk dying
about it?
Yeah, it's just such a terrible spot to be in.
And look at the champion he's getting. He's putting this kind of pressure on. It's Ryze. It's not like this champion even roams super well. Imagine if he was on TF, a champion that literally could like leave lane a second and immediately show up on the side lane. That kind of pressure is extremely hard to deal with.
All right, and it's funny because you look at the scoreline, you're like, oh, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, okay, whatever the scoreline, right? Jensen's 2 and 1. Oh, that's sick. But it's like Bjergsen's. I feel like he's just doing so much more. Jensen's like receiving Meteos ganks, right? But Bjergsen's creating all of these opportunities, and he's finally split pushing now. He's in the top side.
Right. So this is what we're talking about with the difference in the summoner smells, with the TP being able to kind of set these up and join on either side. Aurelia got picked off on the bot side, but TSM's happy to trade for this top turret.
It's kind of funny. The matchup is Bjergsen versus Jensen, but it really just feels like it's all about Bjergsen as he's the team. He's the one with control, right?
Bjergsen versus the map.
It is, and I don't want to completely sell Jensen short. It feels like his side lanes are all losing, and his champion is less suited to win. Like, if you go back to champ select, is Vlad the wrong choice then because Ryze is going to keep having pressure and roam around?
I don't think it's the wrong choice because I think it actually, C9 just made the conscious decision to trade mid lane pressure for farm. And naturally, Nidalee will win this matchup anyways 1v1. And so they decided to take a higher gank priority jungler, and TSM just farmed it down and was able to create plays that way. And so I think the champion pick was great actually, because Ryze does very well against this mid and this jungler. But they just weren't able to overcome TSM's superior team play. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we were saying a little bit about the Gnar. You can't afford to give a last pick counter pick and have it lose. Because generally, the way you think about it is like every pick is put in a position to succeed or kind of go even. You never want to put yourself in a position to fail. But when you give your last pick and you put them in a position to fail, that's a problem to me. Because it's basically, like I said, allocating resources. You give your last, most important spot in the draft to your top laner, and it doesn't necessarily fill your team comp out that well. It doesn't win its lane. You know, it doesn't do a ton. It just gives you a little bit more follow-up engage, but you've probably had enough already.
So Bjergsen out-pressuring Jensen, not so much on Jensen, but on the side lane picks, where it's a bunch of openings for Bjergsen, and Jensen's like, well, my teammates are stuck under the turret dying. Is that a somewhat fair assessment?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think Bjergsen played very well outside of, and I think Meteos played super well ganking Bjergsen. And I think that Jensen wasn't able to convert any of his lead. Like, definitely the bottom lane death was his fault, you know?
Right, yeah.
And so I think, like, maybe if he didn't die there, he'd have higher pressure mid lane, but more than likely, he still wouldn't be able to play as far up as he would like.
Yeah, I think the fact that TSM was winning both side lanes on their own, basically without either Bjergsen or Sven, is a huge part of it too. Because once that's happening, your mid laner is freed up really to play a lot, because the enemy jungler is just so pressured into either defending or forcing a play. And so even if they force on you mid, right, then the other two lanes are like, oh, there's the jungler mid, we can pressure even harder now. And it kind of it's this kind of snowball effect where once you start losing two lanes on the opposite sides of the map, the jungler can't possibly cover both, and it's just really hard to play as Meteos.
And someone's going to get blasted,
yeah,
of course.
And even it's hard to play as Jensen too, because he's supposed to be there out roaming Bjergsen or matching his roam. He can't run through the jungle. If he gets cut by a Nidalee and like Bjerg is close, then he dies, or he has to close summoners. And he needs to save those to even team fights. So it's just a very difficult position for him to be in.
So based on the map, Jensen can't even follow sometimes, and his life gets more difficult. Well, we are into this game with 6,000 gold difference now at 23 minutes in. Certainly a sizable one, as I guess kind of the whole of TSM is doing quite well into Cloud9. We're getting farther on into the game, right? We're into the late mid game, into the beginning of the late game here. Tell me how sort of the players' roles in the team change, because now like these roams much less likely, the map's much more sort of opened up, and you kind of always assume you can be jumped on.
I think it's trying to transition to the stage of the game where you're not quite strong enough to do Baron, but there's not much else to force. They already have all the inners down as well as TSM. So what they're going to do is they're basically just going to 1-3-1 and try and rotate the side lanes and control vision and look for picks. And then once it gets to the point in the game where they can really force Baron, then you'll see a lot more focus onto this top side. They already have a lot. You see 3 pink wards in the river, but I'm not quite sure C9's terrified of them doing Baron just yet, though they do have a fair amount of damage with Bjergsen completing his Seraphs.
I think right now, as TSM, you realize that as long as the team fight goes out normally, you will win this game. So the Rise player, what he should just be thinking about is like being in a situation where he can either help get the pick with his team, deny evasion, helping the pick, or if a team fight is started, it's his job to be able to just kill whatever's in front. He doesn't ever have to dive because he will be strong enough to go straight through.
It's just such a desperation play from C9. They're trying to force the Baron.
They walked through a ward doing it.
Yeah, they cleared a pink to do it. I think they might have seen that TSM's bot lane might have been out of position. I'm not exactly sure, but that's definitely an unsafe play.
Yeah, they're at least near mid lane right now, so TSM just collapsed in, and Jensen's forced to kind of 2v4 defend this.
Yeah, I actually think it's okay by C9 to make those kind of plays, because right now they're just going to lose the game as it is. They're just slowly bleed out.
Yeah, they don't have a great way of picking off to get back to the game. You're basically relying completely on Meteos to do it, as the rest of the team is mostly follow-up or like enablers.
And we talked about how bad Meteos is into like a Braum, so he can't find that pick even if he wants to.
Yeah, they just end up out of position after that Baron, and TSM's able to charge up mid lane, take down inhib uncontested, and that's really going to free up that Baron pressure.
Well, smart shot calling by TSM, then to get themselves in on this one. C9 farther and farther behind now. 7,000, roughly the gold deficit. TSM killed an inhibitor off as well, and so yeah, it's just what TSM's playing the rotation game. At this point, maybe they are strong enough to bait Baron properly, right?
Yeah, from here they definitely can. They're probably gonna clean up a couple side waves, reset once, and then start really focusing the Baron.
Yeah, they just want to put Hanser in the side lane because, unfortunately, with his item build, it's built literally to beat the other top laner, because he went no defensive items, so he doesn't want a team fight. He just wants to be put in a position where he's flanking or he's just split pushing. And so they just gotta set up a split push position for him, and then they just 4-1. They can 1-3-1 as well if they really want to, but
yeah,
4-1's probably safer.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he went the more greedy split push build as Hanser. I mean, your team's so far ahead, you really just need to not die. Because once you engage, you can just go even a GA second. Like, it really doesn't matter. Your team has so much damage follow-up.
Double is 4-0. Bjergsen's big as well. Mid lane getting pressured by C9, and Valfrost just defends it all.
That's just the counter push that's opened up off the reset that we said TSM would look for. Here they get a double TP flank on the side, though.
Oh, this is a great flank here.
Target Smoothie right away, and Hanser gets the pick off. He's going to root up someone else, and now Jensen just stuck here.
Oh man, this might actually be the game already. They're going to have a minion wave, super minion wave coming up mid lane with 3 dead.
Impact late to the party.
Nah, they're not going to take it. They're just going to let Baron.
Okay. Play it safe and smart. All right.
I think
Meteos is alive.
Yeah, I think they could have potentially just ran down.
I mean, yeah, they have 30 seconds.
They have 30 seconds and they have 5 people, and
yeah.
Rise still has flash. So It's really, really easy.
So Bjergsen playing Baron defense right now, right? Wards on both sides, he can watch the entrances, and he's just waiting for Meteos. He's even running like super far up to make sure.
Yeah, he's going for that red buff.
In addition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just to point out, right, Bjergsen's job right there is like, I will make sure Meteos doesn't reach. I can 1v1 him. Heck, I can 1v2 him and Jensen.
Yeah,
Make sure Baron goes
this
through.
was a super desperate play by C9. They realized they have to do something, and TSM just has a really great ward behind them. Like, they could have even TP'd on the other side and still gotten the flank off correctly. And then once you get flanked in this position by both the TPers, you just lose.
I like the target selection too, making sure that they assassinate the Soraka right away so they don't get in some weird extended fight where Vlad's healing and Soraka's healing.
Bjerg actually backed out because he thought he was going to get silence fielded instantly there, and he wanted to be able to kite around it, but I think it was on cooldown from the disengage.
Yes.
He didn't even have to back off. He could have straight tanked it.
Worked out okay, I suppose. 10,000 gold lead. Double Cloud Drake. The rotation speed for TSM.
The rotation.
Yeah, I know. No one except me and Jad pretty much like Cloud Drake. That's okay. We'll move on. But it's
I mean, it's cool. Next patch it gets buffed, right?
Yeah, and then it'll be the best Drake in the game instead of equally powerful as the rest of them.
It'll be very good. I agree.
I wanted you guys to run some stats. Actually, I was talking to Jad previously about how like the first Cloud Drake's arguably the best, right? Is what was said. Even game state, like 10 minutes, the win rate of Cloud Drake was the highest or something like that. I was interested in what happened when it's stacked, because it's the only one that doesn't scale with you. It's a flat move speed bonus that actually gets diminishing returns, whereas everything else scales with game time because you just get stronger.
Right. Well, so the reason I think it's actually still cool is that like moving a level 17 Vladimir faster is almost better than moving level 1 Vladimir faster. In some ways, move speed actually gets better with game time. It's a completely irrelevant point, but you could argue that move speed's actually a better stat later on in the game.
But speaking of the game real quick, this push should actually be impossible. You're trying to brute force a push with Zerker, Greaves, Aurelia with 2 damage items. Like, she actually does nothing.
You have no front line at all.
Yeah, exactly. And you can, if you get flashed on by Midas, you can just die randomly. If Impact just ultis you, like Sivir alone can chunk you. But because they're just so far ahead, they can just do whatever they want.
And they're unwilling to split push to risk like getting picked off like this.
Yes.
Well, I mean, a big thing too is both their TPs are down after that double TP push, so they're just playing it really safe. Here, Bjergsen probably dead.
Yeah, he gets blasted. So I guess we watch Jensen. He's pulled in the back line and looking for Svenskeren.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's full health. He can do a lot of damage here, but he needs to get onto double if he's cleaning up the rest of his team with Hanser.
And now he's like the only man alive.
Yeah, can't probably
He's
get
not
much
gonna
more. Yeah,
fight this.
he just needs to focus on wave clear. They might still be in the game just with these 3.
It looks likely, honestly. He's gonna flash. Ooh, that was close.
Nah, he's dead now as well.
Probably, yeah, he's dead. Goodbye. Oh, he missed it.
Oh,
okay, he's not dead yet. But Pool's not up, so he's dead.
Let me trade
And
more back.
And that's game. Wow, a 30-minute win by TSM.
They're this good. I mean, TSM are really this good.
No,
At League of Legends.
From talking to people, everyone just tells me that their map play is just very, very strong.
I mean, I think you can kind of see it that game where just it wasn't like these insane mechanical outplays. It was just there was always a numbers advantage for TSM.
Yeah, and again, some of that seemed to be C9's draft, right? We go back to the losing top lane matchup. The 2-on-2 at least is like a reasonably close 2-on-2, I would say. It's salvageable, I think, if you're Sivir Soraka. But yeah, Meteos' pressure in the mid lane didn't stop Bjergsen at all. It gave Jensen some